Hi, Miss Otara. So the first question will be, what are the main challenges you face in making an eco-friendly platform such as who we are? Like, what sort of challenges would you have faced when you started making this platform?
Whovia.lk is it's quite new. I only started it in December last year. The initial idea was that I actually wanted to have a very big event in April in 2020 with a lot of small businesses and showcasing their products at Vihara Mahadevi Park. But unfortunately, because of the situation, I had to cancel it. And it was subsequently, after all the lockdowns and all that, I decided that having a big event like that is going to take a long time in this current context. So I decided to move it online, and that was why I started the platform to put a lot of these entrepreneurs online on the platform. So all the products are made in Sri Lanka. They're all made by small businesses and individual creators. A lot of people do the products at home, and they have either they don't have anyone else working with them, or they have very few people. So it's very small businesses, and I just wanted to create a platform to be able to give them a better reach, and for them to reach a wider audience, to be able to market their products. It's been going quite well, up and down because of the situation. Sometimes it's really good. Some months it's really good, and another month it's not. It's quite a difficult situation and or time to be to start the business, but of course, yeah, it's been good. There's been quite a big reach. Some businesses more than others are doing a lot better on the platform, and we have a lot of items from fashion to home to jewelry, and a lot of it is sort of handmade, and we pick only kind of eco-friendly products. We don't have we try to stay away from things that are environmentally unfriendly. Couple of things, it's a bit difficult not to have certain items which I think are still quite. I wish we don't have to have it, but in some cases we do. Like, for example, a plastic bottle for like a deodorant or a face product, because we're not sure how to have an alternate product packaging for that item at the moment. But other than that, almost all the items are sort of eco-friendly, and no animal products are sold. So no leather, no food products with animals, and yeah, and really all it is supporting the small businesses. A lot of them are women. About 70 to 80% are women. That it just happens to be that way. It's not that it was picked to be that way, but it happens to be that way.
I'm listening to some seminar.
Yeah, and that's how the platform is. We deliver all over Sri Lanka. We deliver internationally. We've already done quite a few orders internationally as well. And let's see if it grows. I can make it grow more, and to have to increase the reach. That would be great. So let's see how it progresses in the months ahead.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Nitra De Silva. So another challenge which is affecting green marketing is greenwashing. So, ma'am, what are your perspectives on to how we should avoid greenwashing, and like how we could spot greenwashing?
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it happening, and I think there has been, and there is as well, a lot of the things that are marketed as sustainable and green, and a lot of people who promote it that way. It's not always it's not always I mean, it doesn't translate into the whole company or into that whole business. and often it is done by companies that have the ability and have the power to bring great change to the environment and to the current crisis, really, the environment crisis of eco-friendly, eco-unfriendly items that are being put out on a day-to-day basis. Plastic bottles, packets, sachets. I mean, so many things like that. Often, some companies may, but in the meantime, there's some mega project happening which is cutting down huge areas of forest, but it's covered up with a tree planting campaign. So I think there's a lot of things that are happening, which is just sometimes just statements. Something's going to happen by 2040, and something's going to happen by 2030. Statements, and basically then people and them they usually market this to the people who are actually asking for the change to happen, and then very often as consumers, everybody's like, at least they're doing that better than nothing, like that sort of thing is what we often say. But these sort of giant players have huge power to bring great change in the marketplace, to reduce the pollution and to reduce the huge garbage crisis and the ocean pollution and environment pollution and many things like that. And unfortunately, we are a very gullible population and a very gullible audience that they market these things to, and we are easily influenced by ways of marketing, by ways of communication, and I think it's up to each one of us to know what's right or not, or the change that's needed, and it's up to each one of us to ask now for this great change to happen, because in the world that we are in today, where it really is at a point of great crisis and disaster on many fronts, so I think it's each of us should know what to accept and to be able to see through the lies and the washing that goes on.
Also, ma'am, another question. So, some companies they do not actually think about the direct benefit to the consumer, uh, and they just make it eco-friendly. But most even uh, consumers who tend to buy eco-friendly stuff, they also actually think about the direct benefit to them. So, like, what do you think on how those companies can improve that and to stop that from happening, like how they could get a direct benefit to the consumers?
I didn't quite understand the question. The companies are selling things that are not beneficial to the consumer, is it?
Yeah, so they're not thinking about the direct benefit to the consumer.
As in, yeah, but you see, that's where we have to be conscious, and we have to be aware of what is being sold to us. Things that food stuff is being sold to us every day as being healthy and energy and tasty, and like all these words, and a lot of it is not, and that also involves a lot of people that they get on board as to push the items for them, which in a way that is shown as being very good for you, and that's where each one of us has to make the choice of what we want to buy, and how what we want to do with our own health and our own life. So I never eat fast food. I never drink certain things. because you know, I know, you know, that it's not good for me, and I don't like to have it anyway. So you know, those are choices I have made. So I mean, the same way everyone can make those choices, because unfortunately there are no there isn't really a lot of systems and a lot of regulations in place to you know, to sort of regulate only you know, a very good and healthy product that is being sold, you know, to be sold, or otherwise, or not only food wise, but even you know, even otherwise, with you know, with polythene and bags and bottles. And I mean, there are a lot of you know, sort of laws and things that are not in place for even things like that in our country. And you know, in some countries, certain laws and regulations have been put in place for certain things, like, you know, supermarkets not to use polythene bags, and there's, you know, a lot of countries have those regulations now. You know, but it's I mean, I mean, you know, just asking the consumer only to change is not going to bring great change. It has to come from the top players also, and the leadership of each country. But you know, for that as well, it is the people that need to push for that, and not just blindly follow whatever is being just pushed at us every day.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, so you've used your platform to do so much like charity and all. I mean, you have Embark and you post all the videos on Instagram that are so like aware, that gives so much awareness, about all these poor animals that are suffering. So as us, what can we do like help stop these kind of stuff?
Yeah, so you know, each of us, I mean, we have to you know, be conscious of things that we often thought you know, were right before. I mean, I honestly, like, I've been a part of a very big business that hasn't really been very environmentally friendly either, and a part of a revolution of retail that really is not eco-friendly, which we now know, which we were all part of, and we didn't really understand it at that time, and neither did I, honestly. And you know, now we know, like, you know, the whole fast fashion, and you know, the environment impact it has, the land, you know, the issue with, you know, buying and throwing, buying and throwing, buying and throwing, you know, how it's impacting the whole the environment, the landfills, and you know, many sort of ways of production and chemicals, and you know, lots of impacts like that. And you know, also, we don't really need so much to live very happily. You know, to have to buy new every day. And you know, so it's the same way. Like, I mean, even with animals, like, each of us has to become more conscious of things that of you know, the damage and the cruelty and the abuse that we cause, and that we often have turned a blind eye to. We've often been brainwashed into believing that it is correct, that it is right, and but it's not. And it's, you know, we have to realize one day that it's okay for us to think that it's not right. I mean, there's a lot of ego that we have that makes us ego, and a lot of sort of what's the word, so-called faith, or you know, that makes us believe in certain things that are, that's the only way, and that has to be right. That I'm referring to elephants, but you know, there's certain things that, you know, like zoos, animals in zoos who live in captivity. We always think that that's quite all right, but it's not all right. I mean, to have an animal live its life in a, you know, in a cage all its life, so that we can go and look at them, we can go and point at them, we can go and, you know, laugh and enjoy from being outside. And you know, a lot of things like that we now know are not right, and we've been very unconscious, and you know, a lot of those things have profit behind it, and money behind it, and that's why a lot of them continue as well, because those institutions keep pushing the narrative, because they need to earn the profit, and they keep pushing it that that is correct and that it's not a problem. But we need to know that it's not correct, and to be able to to change that. And a lot of change has happened in the last several years globally, to do with animal wild animals used in circuses is virtually stopped now in almost all countries except here. They don't they're not used in circus, but similar. But those are things like that that have stopped, been stopped, because now they realize how wrong it is, and the abuse that goes along with that. Same with sort of pedigree breeding and other sort of animals in captivity, birds in captivity. So many things like that. And in Sri Lanka, they sell those birds in cages on the sides of the road. They capture them from the wild. They take them away from they throw nets, capture them from the wild, take them away from their flocks. They put them in cages, and then they sell them so that people can think that they get merit by releasing them, by releasing a caged bird, that they get merit and good karma or something. But actually, you're contributing to that horrible abuse of that animal, because you're buying that animal. So things like that we have to stop. Ideally, there should be laws that are put in place, and new laws that keep coming up that stop, that change that type of thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen here. So for now, we have to be the voice. We have to speak out, use your platforms on behalf of the animals who can't speak for themselves. And that's what I chose to do, is to use my platforms and my voice, to speak for them, and to hopefully make them heard through me, as much as possible. And I note that some change has happened, and I'm really glad. I'm really happy for that. It's brought great change in people and great change in animals in certain areas. A lot more to go, but yeah, and each one of you can also make a difference, and so you must, and you should do that.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Ravina Hapuarachi. As
Hi.
you're one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka, ma'am, what are some of your biggest achievements in the field?
It's very difficult to talk about my own my own achievements. A lot has happened in my life over the years, and what I've been a part of. And yeah, I mean, I started from very small, from selling clothes in the boot of my car, and then opening a store, and then expanding from there, and then building one very large department store, and then many other department stores, and and a big brand, and then another, and then a couple other brands, yeah, and then I listed the company on the stock exchange. I was the first female to list a company on the stock exchange, and it was also the first fashion retail company to list on the stock exchange. There was also an investor who came and bought 47% of the company, a Malaysian investor. A lot of money came into Sri Lanka through that, and I was also able to sell the company to them. Of course, I mean, through the business, many things happened along the way, and sort of new projects and new concepts and new ideas and new way of retail, and then embark, and giving the street dogs, trying to make the street dogs fashionable to own, and giving them a platform and a voice through the brand, and through the activities that we did with Embark and still do today, and also helping the dogs. Yeah, I mean, those are some of the things I think. Yeah, there's probably more. There is more, I'm sure, but just a few.
Ma'am, out of like the many ventures that you started and you own, what brings you the most joy?
It depends. It depends on the timing. Obviously, my time at Odell and building the business and growing the business was immensely satisfying for me, even though quite stressful at times. But it was very, very satisfying, and I loved it. I loved doing that. I mean, I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed that journey very, very much. And then subsequently there was Embark, and of course I loved to be able to take these dogs and be able to transform their lives and give them a better life, and to see them happy in their homes after after they've been adopted, and to see them recover after they're through when they have terrible injuries or sicknesses, and to try and to rescue animals who are being abused and to give them a better life. So but I think probably what gives me the most joy and happiness is to be um, is to speak for them. It is to really give a service to the animals and to the people. And it's not just the animals; it's also the people and the communities who are, I believe, are not sort of whole and complete until we learn to to care for all beings that live with us, to care for the environment, to care for nature. It's I like bringing that change, or trying to bring that change, and creating the awareness, and I mean, I love doing that.
Ma'am, what are the best green marketing strategies or campaigns for Sri Lankan business organizations in the current business context?
I am not really sure what that question is about. I mean, what you actually mean. There is some. I mean, I don't know. The half the problem is this whole the marketing part is what brings a lot of issues. This sort of so-called green marketing, which eventually ends up in sort of greenwashing. It's very difficult to try to remain sort of within that eco frame, and within the actual contribution to of not causing a lot of harm. And I mean, I don't know. Ideally, there shouldn't have to be sort of something called green marketing. That should be just something that we all do as part of our businesses, and we all live that life. It shouldn't have to be like a marketing campaign. That should be our way of life, and our way um, of, um, of requesting companies to convert themselves to be, to be eco-friendly, to be truly sustainable. I mean, the word sustainable is used a lot and used just, it really is not sustainable most of the time. So it's really, it's something we don't really need to be marketing. It's something we need to be living, and it should be a part of our life, to be able to, I mean, that should be a part of our life, and not something that we need to market as such.
So, guys, does anyone else have any questions? The platform is open for questions, so you can go ahead if you have any kind of question. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So you have Embark, right? So, and you, like I said before, you spread so much awareness about all of this animal cruelty and so on. What inspired you to really take a stand on all this?
I've always thought it has always been a huge part of my life from childhood. I've always been very connected to nature and animals, and I've always thought that they deserve so much more, on this planet, and people deserve so much more as well, because we don't have the ability, we've lost the ability to live in harmony with nature and with animals, and that is not a good thing for us. It's not making us into good, healthy, happy humans. I've always, wanted to be able to use to spread that message and to bring change in that area. And actually, even with Odell at the start, when I started it, I actually started it to raise funds to for an elephant conservation project that was happening at that time. And that was the reason I actually started making the T-shirts so that I could sell them, and from that profit I could give the money, which I did, so right through the business as well, I would have awareness campaigns and try to spread the message as much as possible, and it's something that I believe is within all of us, but we tend to shut it off, and we tend to to not want to believe that that we really need to live in harmony with animals and nature. And I think unfortunately, with a lot of things that are marketed to us, with a lot of lifestyle ways of how we are taught to live, and with different things that we are shown as being of greater importance, where they give overall there's such little importance given to the need for us to connect and live a harmonious life with animals and with nature. And I think it is a must for our well-being, for our mental health well-being, for our health, and for our happiness. So it's not just about the animals, having to live a better life. It's actually an overall harmonious total change that's required for all. And in the world today, there's still so many, millions of people who are struggling to survive, who are struggling with health problems, with mental problems, with so many problems. And why is that in our so-called very advanced, very developed, very intelligent world? Why is that? We have to start thinking, why is that? Obviously we've lost some connection somewhere. And I think, we really need to be more compassionate, more caring, more loving, and we have to care for all beings that live with us, and not live a selfish life where it's only just about us. I just do as much as I can to spread that message, and use my platforms as much as I can for that. And I think it's really important. That's the most important thing for us in life, is to have that connection, and to have that that sort of love and care. You don't have to love animals, but you have to have the respect, and you need to be able to understand how our actions affect them, because if you don't, there's something not right with us. It's not something right or not right with them.
Ms. Otara, how does green marketing affect consumer behavior?
How does it affect consumer behavior? What was the question?
How does green marketing affect consumer behavior?
I don't quite know what you mean by green marketing. Is it? I'm not sure I'm not sure what green marketing is actually, but it's. If it's a brand or some sort of product range where you're trying to help people to live a more healthier and more eco-friendly and a more eco-conscious and a better life, then I mean, I guess then it would be helpful for the person. But you I mean, you really have to be genuine and to know that that those items or whatever you're promoting is really of benefit to not just people but to the whole to the whole system that surrounds us, which includes people, animals, and the environment. So, uh, but unfortunately, that has not been the situation over the years, and there's a lot of very unhealthy and things that are being sold as being good, and everybody is convinced that they're okay to have. It's up to each one of us now to start getting more aware, awakening ourselves, being more conscious, and moving away, from those items and from those things that affect our life. All those things are available, and they are in the market because there are people buying them. So in the absence of great change happening to stop certain things or to change certain things, it's us individually that has to do it.
Ines, as you've already said, advocacy and thereby creating awareness about animal cruelty is at the heart of your work. So my question is, how were you able to implement the campaign that attempted to shut down the Dehiwala Zoo, and what was that campaign?
What made me do that? Was that your question?
Yeah, and how were you able to get that done? And
yes, I mean, that is a campaign that that I did through the foundation, because I used to work there when I was from the time I was 14 or so until I was about 17, 18. I used to work in the zoo as a volunteer, and I would go virtually every day to the zoo, and I was very friendly with a lot of the lions and tigers and monkeys and chimpanzees and all in the zoo. And I was very ignorant as a young teenager. I was very ignorant at the at the life that they led, and the horrible life that they had of living their whole life in a cage. I thought it was great. It was a wonderful thing at that time. But subsequently, after I understood a lot more, and was more conscious about about our actions, and how it's about empathy as well. You have to be able to put yourself in the place of that animal, and understand. Then you will understand what they're going through. I mean, would we like to live in a box? Because I mean, in a couple of months of having lockdown, most are going crazy. Can you imagine living your whole life and for no crime that has been committed, just because they want to sell tickets, or some that institution wants to earn money, so I believe that unless it's a sanctuary where there is a lot of land, for animals, and they can live a life which is very close to their life in the wild, that there should be no zoos. And people say about conservation and this and that. It's very few institutions that actually do the conservation, and most of those places also don't sell tickets to people to come and look at the animals, because in the true conservation, you don't upset the animals, and you let them live as close to their wildlife as possible. And the zoo was in terrible condition, and the facilities, the cages were bad, they're small, there's no space for the animals. I mean, it's utterly cruel, and I still think so today, that it still is. But after the campaign, and at that stage, it was actually in very bad state. And there was, what triggered it also was a sea lion that was in a bathtub, and it was, I heard it, and it screaming because it was in the bathtub. And that was sort of how the whole thing got, then it started with trying to bring that change for that animal, and then all the animals. And that was when the campaign was started, and subsequently another organization did another campaign also at the similar time. And there were a lot of then there was a big investigation, opened, and a lot of things were found, but of course, in truth style, nothing happened. But a few changes did happen for a few animals. Life improved, maybe 10%, 15%, but nothing more than that. And it is not a place for a zoo. I mean, that land, so it's a beautiful land and a beautiful property, but it's not a place to have captive animals that are such bad energy, such bad suffering that happens there. And I still believe that it's a place that where captive animals should not be kept. It was also to create awareness, and it really brought a lot of awareness, and a lot of people started to realize what they thought was okay and what they thought was normal was really not. That was really the most important thing, was to get people to think about things that we have always thought every day as being normal is really actually so much abuse and cruelty to the poor innocent animals that are in those locations. And even not there, but there are other places as well here that and even internationally that still have animals in sort of very bad spaces. It really has to change. It's not something we should be doing to animals.
Thank you.
Madam, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Madam, so with that said, like, some people believe that these animals who live in these zoos, they are bred from a young age in these zoos, and like they have certain eating times and they are spoon fed and stuff like that. So that's, yeah, so that it's like they might not be able to survive in the wild after staying in these cages for so long. So
yeah, they can't go back in the wild. They never can go back in the wild. They have to go to a sanctuary. It's not, a sanctuary doesn't mean the wild. A sanctuary means a place with acres and acres and acres of land, which has land space, which is very close to the homes of these animals, where they can live together with other animals of their own species and live a life as close to as the wildlife as their life in the wild as possible. Almost all of them, maybe some of them can if they're rehabilitated for a long time, but the majority can't go back, and that's really not what the advocacy is for. It's not to send them back into the forest. It's because most won't survive.
okay, so madam, so how do you believe, what do you think will be the like smoothest transition from a zoo to a sanctuary? Like many factors play in, right? Like even at the zoo there are many people who have jobs and stuff. Do you think will there be a smooth transition from a zoo to a sanctuary, or do you
Are
think
you
there's
asking about the jobs of the people, or are you asking about the animal? Which one are you referring to?
Like even animals, even those people as well. Like, do you believe that there could be a smooth transition?
Are you worried about the job, or are you worried about the life of the animal in the zoo?
Worried about the animal more.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, like, if we are going to have a smooth transition from a zoo to a sanctuary, what do you think are like the steps that we can take to move from
I mean, first you have to find the place to do that. I don't know if you were following the the change of Karvan, the elephant, the Sri Lankan elephant, who was gifted to Pakistan, who suffered for years in Pakistan in a horrible enclosure, absolutely isolated and miserable for years in that zoo. And they rescued him and took him to Cambodia, I think, to a sanctuary there. And there's been a smooth a transition of flying from all the way from Pakistan to that sanctuary, and he was in a penned up space, meeting the other elephants and all in that sanctuary. And now recently I saw that he's finally starting to step out into the forest, where he's now, they're introducing him to forest life. And you know that, and so now he's even more closer to living his life, his wildlife, together with other elephants as well. And you know, it's a process and a transition, and you know, it is all of it is possible.
Okay,
And
thank you.
that's just one example. I mean, there are hundreds of bears that have been rescued from bile farms, from you know, circuses that are living in amazing sanctuaries in where is it, in Cambodia again, I think, or Thailand. It's called Asia Foundation, I think it's the name, something like that. But you know, again, they have, I think, 3 or so bear farms. There's also another one called Four Paws, which has 2 or couple sanctuaries where they rescue animals in bad conditions. I mean, animals who are held, you know, in not very nice zoos, and also those who have been in a circus, or I mean, and they're, you know, they're a very successful transfer of very successful and very heartwarming stories of, you know, animals who are finally given their freedom and moved away from a life in captivity, in you know, in a money-making venture of you know, small cages and concrete enclosures, and yeah.
Yes, madam. And one more question, madam. Like, madam, you're like one of the most successful entrepreneurs that we've had in our country, right? So, like, you had a journey from like 1990 to like having the Odell brand, and then selling it, and then starting all these foundations and all, right? So, for an up and coming entrepreneur, uh, what kind of advice would you give them related to how they should handle their businesses with the environment? And when it comes to your journey, is there anything that you would have done different, or any additional steps that you would have taken related to the environment and your business?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, like, I mean, there's a lot of things I know today that I didn't know then, and a lot of things that, you know, many people in that business and many consumers didn't know also then. You know, the business, it started very small, and you know, it was what you call more slow fashion, which is like, you know, you're not encouraging people to buy and throw, and you're not marketing that sort of lifestyle of, you have to have something new every day to wear, you know, otherwise you're not stylish, you have to keep buying, and you know, that sort of was not there at the beginning. But of course, as the years went on, you know, the whole revolution happened globally as well, of fast fashion, and you know, this whole thing of, you know, making the clothes very cheap, and so that you can buy more and more, which actually we don't need so much. You know, that, I mean, that sort of was part of the business. And you know, you know, and then I had sort of polythene bags that we used to, I mean, I used to always ask people to reuse them and to recycle them, but you know, the option of using paper bags at that time was not very practical, because it was very expensive, and you know, we couldn't not provide a bag as well. So I mean, that was something I always wished that I could have stopped or not had. But it was something that was there, and even though the bags also had it printed saying reuse, and of course you can reuse it, but it's still a polythene bag, and at some point it does go out. And so things like that. And then I did sell. It was very, very small, but the rest percentage was, I don't know, maybe like 0.01% or something. But I sold leather and things like that, which I don't do today. And I also used to think that leather is a byproduct. I didn't eat meat, but I used to think, it's a byproduct of the meat people eat. But it's they're all. With me selling it, I'm also contributing to that, and I'm contributing to pushing that it's okay to buy it. And yeah, all that I realized, a lot later on, towards the end of when I was leaving, and all of it contributed to sort of thoughts in my head of why I don't want to be a part of this anymore, and maybe it's time for me to move out and to try to bring some other change, more sort of a more truly eco-friendly and conscious sort of change, and a compassionate view of many things. So there are many things like that I would that I would have changed, like I told, like even my example earlier of the zoo. I was very much for it at one time. I used to own pedigree dogs, and I advocate against. I don't advocate for that anymore. I advocate for adoption of street dogs, because there are so many who are suffering, and there are so many pedigree dogs who are suffering in the pedigree breeding industry. And I used to own pedigree dogs, and of course I now own only street dogs, because they're the most wonderful dogs you can have. So there's a lot of change that I've also gone through, and I also used to believe all those things were okay and they were fine, and anyone who told me that it was not fine, I would probably say, no, you don't know what you're doing. Well, that's not correct. It's okay to do it, but eventually you have to realize that it's not okay, and bring that change, not only for the for the other beings and the community, but also for yourself. So I wouldn't say there are things I would have done. Yeah, probably if I know what I know today, and if I'm living the life and the beliefs I have today, yes, I would have done some things differently. I have no regrets of doing it that way, because that's how things were at that time. But we know better now, and we all want better now. That's why you're talking to me as well. So so yeah, I think together we can do that. And you asked the question, and I wasn't trying to push you with the people thing, but even in something like that, in where it's, yes, people's joy, I understand if people are earning a living, but people also must earn a living from things that don't cause harm, and things that don't cause suffering, to other beings. And that is how, and that way we can also help people to improve themselves and improve their lives and earn better as well, by doing something that brings far greater richness into their lives. And I think those opportunities are there. Most often people are stuck in those roles because they don't know how to navigate out of that to look for something better. And that's, really, that is something should be happening also through leadership, through government, through governance, through government, through through organizations. So those are the changes that can be brought to to people as well, because it's always an evolving process, and we can all see what's happening in the world today, and how much change is needed. And I don't know if you all have watched the movie Cease Parisi. If you haven't, please watch it. It's on Netflix, I think. And you'll be. I mean, I learned so much from that also. Some things that I never knew, I learned from that, and it's horrific what's happening in the world and what we are all a part of, and we all need to contribute to changing it.
Good evening, ma'am. Can I have a quick word with you?
Sorry, you asked me something I didn't hear.
Of course, ma'am. I'm sorry. I think I'm getting all of you out of the scope of this meeting this time, but I just need to clarify this. Ma'am, as a well-eminent and a successful entrepreneur in Sri Lanka, do you think that getting married will be a significant obstacle for anybody who is willing to be a macro-scale businessman, and especially as a stunning lady, right? In your perspective, do you see it as that it would affect negatively in order to take instant and independent decisions in your business?
I didn't hear half that question. I'm really sorry, but I couldn't hear something. I know I heard you saying something about it as a lady or as a but I couldn't hear the question. It was very light, very soft. You want to ask again, louder or?
Of course, ma'am. I'll ask, ma'am. Actually, I asked, as an entrepreneur in Sri Lanka, do you think that getting married, right? Getting married will be a significant obstacle for anybody who is willing to be a macro scale businessman, and do you think that it would affect negatively in order to take instant and independent decisions in your business?
Oh, getting married, is that what you
Of course,
yeah, you're asking me if will it impact negatively if you get married and you're growing a business? Is that what you asked me?
Of course, ma'am.
Oh, okay. No, of course not. Why should it? I mean, I started the business in 1990 and I got married in I started the business in 89 and I got married in 91, I think. And then I had my first son in 94, and my second son in the year 2000. Of course, I grew the business and did everything as a mother, as a man, being a mother. And I must say it wasn't easy. It was quite difficult, but I had very supportive parents and a very supportive husband. Of course, 12 years beyond that, we didn't work out and we parted ways. But that's personal. I mean, that's a personal thing between us, but nothing to do with not wanting to be married for any other reason. But yeah, I mean, and it can be very beneficial as well, as long as your spouse is very supportive of you, and I don't see any reason why that should not happen, because they should want what's best for you anyway, not as a business, but as a partner and as a husband or wife. It's always it's always wonderful to have children and to have them in your life. My my sons are 27 and 21 now, and besides everything else that happened in my life, they're also the most amazing thing that happened. And my second son, Rakil, he was born in the year 2000, and that's the same year that I actually expanded Odell from being 10,000 square foot to 45,000, and there was a huge construction happening in the building, a very big, a massive construction actually. And I was working, I was at the construction site until the day I actually went to hospital. I mean, I was at the construction site until like 5 or something, and then at 7 I went to hospital and had him, and that was out about 2 days later because it was a cesarean. But and then I was back at work, about a week or two later, not full time, but part time. I was back at work. And of course it's very tough because you don't sleep in the night with your new baby, and then you have to work during the day, and but it's all part of the challenge. And it was, for me, it was part of it was part of motherhood, part of having a family, and then also the challenge of growing the business. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something we should avoid if we want to grow a business or be an entrepreneur. I don't think there's any significance in that sort of
Excuse me, madam. Ronali had raised her hand before. If you have any question, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Hi, Otara. Hello. My name is Ronali, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I really look up to you as a fellow female entrepreneur. And I'm a huge animal rights advocate
Oh,
as
wonderful.
well. And I've heard a lot about you from an ex-colleague of mine, Shilpa, who used to work with
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yes. So I have a few questions. So my first question is regarding elephants, and at all these temples, there are still all these elephants, and I see them suffering because I see their heads moving from side to side, and that's a sign of them, be going through like depression and going through a traumatic time. And it really, really saddens me to see this because especially elephants are not meant to be in captivity. They are not meant to be broken. They're meant to be wild. So what I wanted to ask is do you think that the animal welfare bill, once it is passed, that would encompass stopping this?
No.
No.
No, that's not there.
Oh, that's really sad.
I mean, there are a few things. Then I think there's another. I forget what it's called now. Captive elephant. Some document, Welfare Act or something. That's not the name of it, but there's another document like that has been also submitted, which is also not being passed because they keep opposing it. So in the animal welfare bill, that's not there, and it's a huge, it's a huge.
And I think it's a big culture piece as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, people. Yeah. I mean, people say it's culture, and it's Buddhism, and to me, I'm a Buddhist. I practice Buddhism every day. For me, Buddhism is compassion and love and care for all animals, and not harming them and hurting them. People don't understand that for a huge animal, wild animal like that to be used, they have to be crushed, they have to be beaten, they have to be stabbed with the bull hooks. And the reason they perform, and the reason they walk, and the reason they do everything and obey human command is because they fear the pain of the bull hook, of the bull hook being inserted in their sensitive parts of their legs, and things like that. And there's always, I mean, I don't know if you've seen on my page, whenever I share something, there's like huge back and forth. But I must, of the people who call me a traitor, and who call me anti this and anti that, and all sorts of things. And I'm only speaking for the animal. I'm not anti anything. I'm just for compassion and love, and for care for the animals, and for us as people to be awakened, to be able to understand that and to move away. And that's what I meant, that sometimes things that we've done in the past are not always right, and at some point we need to understand that and see that. And I mean, on the good side, I see a lot of people who now, after a lot of advocacy and a lot of sharing and a lot of speaking, a lot of people understand it, and a lot of people want the change. But then there's still a large portion. I don't know if you've seen the whole parade, people falling on the ground and worshipping this captive animal, it's incredibly, it's some sort of change that has to happen, eventually. And there is change, a lot of change that has happened with people, that a lot of people now understand it and speak about it. And I see now, I mean, even I saw some post shared recently, it was just a news article and all that, and I saw so many comments from people. I mean, I didn't need to say anything, but it was so amazing. It's so nice to see, like, people saying, like, stop this, and it's so cruel, and we must end this, and like, it's so good to see like people finally understanding, that what's wrong with it. And like it's also it's not different what I was talking before about the circuses. And we all thought I used to go to circus and laugh at the bears jumping in the some hoop and whatever. I used to go and see the dolphins jumping and think it was so great. But it's all based on such cruelty, and at some point, once you start understanding that, then you realize that you have to change from that, and I don't know, 40 years ago, I have been on an elephant, riding an elephant, like all those things. And but because we don't understand what happens behind the whole thing and why that animal is like that. It's a wild animal. There's a reason that they are like slaves to us. There's a reason for that, and that is not a good reason. And really we have no right to take that away from an animal. Because we are saying, oh, it's great, or oh, they're happy, or oh, they're being fed, or oh, they're being looked after, or whatever. And to me, that's not any different even to having a parrot in a cage in your home. And people show the dancing parrot and say, oh, but the parrot is very happy. But the parrot is not with its family. It can't fly. It's like can't live in the trees. It's living in the cage with you because you say that's okay. And it's we put our theories and our life onto them and deprive them of their life, of the life that they have a right to live too. And the bobbing of the head, the moving the head, they're not dancing, they're utterly stressed, and they want out of this captive life, and they're totally stressed out, which is why they keep doing this to calm
that's
themselves.
a sign of distress.
And they keep doing that to calm themselves because their body's so stressed, and it is to calm themselves and to it's no different to us living in a cell. And at some point we are going to go crazy, and then we will also do these things or sway back and forth or whatever to calm ourselves. And that's all they're doing. They're not dancing to the music or the drums or to anything. They're very, very stressed.
So what do you think can be done to affect change in this sense, like especially with elephants in captivity? How can I know it has to be like it has to come from the government, like it's something that has to trickle down at that level, because there's nothing we can do at this level except raise awareness and get more people to talk about this. But to make real change, it has to come from up there.
You need compassionate leadership, compassionate, caring leadership.
That's going to take a while.
And where you care for all beings and where you can understand and have compassion and empathy for other beings and know, sort of the changes that need to be made. And unfortunately, in this situation, there's a lot of things to do with voting and voter bases and so there's so there's that side of it in this particular case. But of course that is in this case, but in other cases as well, change can be done if there's a need for them to do that change. In many countries, there's a lot of change that has happened. England has recently passed some incredible bills like new animal welfare bill. They already had one, but they passed a new one which has like amazing things, like new sort of things for animals which are more which are so much more better for them, which includes sort of dog breeding and a lot of things like that. So like that, like governments are able to change things, with having a leader or government bodies that are allowed to make those changes. So that unfortunately has to be voted in. So
and I mean, forget the elephants for a second. Look at the cruelty that the stray dogs suffer. Not just stray dogs, even purebred dogs are treated so badly. that I feel is an issue that stems from people not having compassion or love for other beings other than themselves, and just not.
Yeah, that too, and a lot of ignorance, and also status. People think it's sort of they're better than if they have a pedigree dog than a street dog, and also a lot of people who buy the dog say that they love dogs, but they don't realize that their mother has been kept in a cage all her life. Her puppies are stolen from her. The puppies have lived a terrible life in the pet shops, in cages. Often in these pet shops where they have the dogs, they lock the animals inside and in the night, and they go home and they come in the morning and open the shop again, and that's how it works in most
It's
places.
terrible.
And it's a terrible situation. No laws, no regulations. The
But I think
situation is very bad, actually.
Those issues are covered in the animal welfare bill, right?
To a certain degree, yes.
Yes.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay. So my second question is non-animal related.
Yeah.
My second question is, so from the day I started my business, I've been sustainable in every possible way that I could be. Of course, it's harder and it comes at a higher cost, because the world has gotten so used to plastic that the cost of it is so low. And if you use plastic packaging, obviously you can keep much better margins when you sell a product. So I'll just brief you. I do organic cold pressed juices using local indigenous fruits, vegetables, and Ayurvedic greens.
Right.
And there's no added water.
Oh, good.
No added water, sugar, additives, preservatives.
Right.
It's packaged in glass bottles, delivered in cloth bags, and it's made using solar energy only.
Okay.
And customers return their glass bottles and they're sterilized and reused. So, I try to be sustainable in every possible way throughout the life cycle of the product. And even the fruit pulp, the remains, are used to make compost, and it goes back into the produce that is grown at home.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Excuse me, madam. Just to add to Runali's first question, so a lot of people speak about elephants and those kind of animals, but shouldn't we also be aware of horse racing, and shouldn't we speak about that as well? What are your thoughts on that, about horse racing and about the cruelty?
Yeah, it is utterly cruel. It is. And I mean, I actually shared a post recently as well from the Olympics where they were beating, the horse. I mean, I honestly, I don't know a lot about horses, and how they in natural situations, like in normal situations, like somebody owning a horse and riding the horse, like in their area. I don't see much wrong with that. But definitely in the racing, there's so much cruelty and in the jumping and all that side of it. And there is a big lobby. I mean, we don't have we unfortunately we have started it as well, recently, but there is a big lobby internationally who do speak out and who are trying to change that. And I think in Australia or something, I think they didn't have the cup or whatever the World Australia Cup or something that they have for horse racing. I think there's been such a big lobby now to stop it. I think they did some change like about 2 years ago. So like that, it is happening, internationally. And like I said, I don't think that there's an issue with you just owning the horse and looking after the horse and riding the horse, and I don't think there's an issue in that area, but it is definitely to do in the because their legs break and then they shoot them. And I don't know, there was a big article recently I read in BBC where they had found that all the horses that are used for racing, they send them to slaughter to use the meat, for meat, because they don't let them live the whole lifespan, because then they become so-called useless after a while, which is similar to the cows, because in that if you keep them for the full lifestyle, then you have to pay for first to look after them and all that. But So in that cycle, they keep looking for new horses that produce money, for the owners. So that article I read recently, but yeah, definitely there is a lot of cruelty in that too.
And even, madam, about eating meat and we kill animals to eat. So even that's a big problem, no, madam.
Which one?
So eating meat and we like kill animals to eat them. So
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I don't eat them, but it's incredibly, I have 4 cows now that I rescued from the slaughterhouse. I mean, it's not, there's only so many you can keep on rescuing, but it is immensely cruel. The dairy industry, the meat industry, it's horrible actually. And it's not shown to us in a lot of ways. Like, they don't show us the slaughterhouse. They don't show us what's actually happening because it's so bad, and there are some, videos that do come out, and, it's horrific. And the whole shipment of animals from one country to another, is also immensely cruel. The whole shipment of animals in trucks, to the slaughterhouses, and it's awful. And in the dairy industry, I don't know how much you know, but they remove the calves from the mother, and screaming mothers who are looking for who want their babies, they take them away because the calf drinks the milk of the mother, and then it's less money for that company. So then they don't let the baby drink the milk. And cows are kept pregnant all the time to keep producing milk. The cow has to be pregnant to give the milk, so they have to keep the cows pregnant all the time. There's so much things like that. You really should take the time to read and to be able to then change our lifestyles to not be a part of that, all those, the cruelty of all those things.
Thank you, madam. Sorry for interrupting as well. Thank you, madam.
Miss Ronali, if you could continue with your question about the sustainable product.
Yeah. So basically my question is 2 questions. The first one is, as you grow and as your business gets to scale, how do you manage to still stay sustainable? Because obviously as you grow, the use of certain things, like you have to use certain things that are not sustainable as the business grows. So how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, it does get more and more difficult. And that's why I said, like, even on who we are, like, we also do have that, those couple bottles that are, that the spray bottles and things, because there's no alternative at the moment, so
yeah.
So all we can do is like really we're very conscious of it, and we try to minimize it as much as possible. It's I think you can do it if you're continuously conscious about it. That the change happens when you get pushed to having to sort of earn more and more and more profit each year. And when you get pushed to that, I mean, I felt that actually there after I listed on the stock exchange,
yeah.
I felt my business changing, because while before it was listed, I could do things that sometimes
you had, I guess, autonomy to a certain extent, and then when it's public, you feel like you're more responsible. And
and when it's public and when it's listed, the system is such that it's looking for you're so-called meant to earn more and more and more each year. You're meant to grow and grow and grow each year, and so so then you keep pushing boundaries of certain things to be able to achieve that. And so, like, even at that time, I remember I obviously had a board, and I had people I had to answer to, which I didn't have before, so then, like, I would only have maximum, I think, 2 sales a year, because I didn't want to keep pushing people to buy stuff that they didn't need just because we wanted to earn more money. But then, when this whole profit, when you're driven to show the numbers of more profit and more growth, and then you think, okay, I will have 4 sales instead or whatever, but in my head, I know, like, it's not really something I want to do, because I'm pushing people to buy things that they don't really need. So, like, I mean, that's just a small example, but so if you're not, if you are not like, if you are not constantly focused on wanting, to grow your, I mean, obviously as a business, you want to grow, you want to earn more profit. Yes, that happens. But if you're okay to maintain certain profit levels, certain growth based on the true sustainability and consciousness of your business, then that's completely up to you. So, so you can remain as eco-friendly and sustainable as possible. That sort of other change comes when if you're under pressure somehow to fall into this, this trap of having to constantly outperform yourself. Then you will think, oh, the glass bottles, like, so it's costing me so much. If I use, some sort of plastic bottle, then I can earn, so, then my profit will go up to so much. So those are the thing changes you start making.
Because the issue is, what I feel is people say, oh yeah, I want to be sustainable, I want to live an eco-conscious green life, but when it comes at a cost to them, then it's something that they think twice about. So if I go out there, for example, and tell my customers, listen, I'm switching to plastic, and you will save 100 rupees per bottle that you buy, would you be okay with this? They'll 100% say, yeah, we don't care. We're saving.
Not 100%, some won't say it.
But that would be a minority. That's what I'm saying. That would be such a minority.
But that means that customer is not eco-conscious and not eco-friendly and not, and they are, like, so, I mean, that's where that, I mean, I would never change. I mean, I would never accept that now, like, even when they send me, a straw or a paper bag, or give me some polythene bag for a takeaway, even I give it back, because I don't need it. I don't need to carry that box in a bag.
I carry my bamboo straw along with me in my bag wherever I go.
I don't think that the consumer will. That the consumer has to really want that, to not be a part of that. And and I think you should stick to your to what you believe and to what you want to promote, and you should not change that. I think you should. Because it is really, that's what builds a brand, and that's what actually creates a difference in a brand as well. If you have a concept and there's some sort of purpose behind that concept and some sort of passion, that really is what really makes the difference as well of a brand.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule and delivering that extremely productive session. You helped us to understand about the importance of going green for a better future. To conclude today's proceedings, I would like to invite the chairman of the Globe Family of Royal College, Janit Munasinghe, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Buddha. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Otara Gunewardene for accepting our invitation and gracing us with her presence today. Thank you, Miss, for all your wise words and answering our questions without hesitation. We admire your everyday work and wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. I would also like to thank our principal, Mr. M.V.S. Gunathilaka, and the senior master of clubs and societies, Mr. T.D.C.P. Amaratunga, for their continuous guidance and support despite their busy schedules. I would also like to thank our digital media sponsors, Hi Online, Daily Mirror, and Lanka Deepa for publicizing the project. A huge thank you to our teaching charge, Mrs. Pushparani Disilva, for being the supporting backbone of the club and guiding us in everything we do. I would also like to thank the club's committee for directing us in order to make this project a success. Next up, I would like to thank our participants. for joining, asking questions, and helping us making this an interactive session throughout. We hope that you'll use this knowledge that you gained today for the betterment of planet Earth. Last but not least, I would like to thank the organizing committee for the commitment and dedication that each of you showed in order to make this project a success. As all good things must come to an end, I would like to conclude today's proceedings by leaving you all with a very special quote. The greatest threat to the environment is the belief that someone else will save it. No one is too small to start. If you believe and if you think anyone can achieve anything, never think that you can't do it alone. It only takes one person and one act of kindness to inspire others and create change. Thank you and hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And all the best with everything in your school and in your studies and your life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.